Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're peeling back the makeup on one of the most enduring and, let's be honest, misunderstood figures out there, the clown. We're about to dive into a history that's way deeper and a whole lot weirder than you probably think.
No, really, think about it for a sec. What's the first image that pops into your head? Is it a friendly face making balloon animals at a birthday party? Or is it something a little more unsettling? Maybe hiding out in a storm drain, right? It feels like today the clown is totally split down the middle. On one hand, you've got the symbol of pure joy and fun for kids, and on the other, an icon of absolute horror. So how did one single character end up representing two emotions that are polar opposites? Well, that's the big mystery we're going to unravel.
So where do we start? Not in a circus tent, that's for sure. Our story begins way back in the ancient world, where the very first clowns actually served a sacred and pretty vital social purpose.
I mean, we're talking about a history that stretches back almost 5,000 years. From Egypt and China to ancient Greece and India, this clown figure was like a universal thing. And get this, in a lot of these early cultures, the priest and the clown, they were often the very same person. Humor wasn't just for laughs. It was a sacred ritual.
And this wasn't just some abstract idea. This power was real. The Chinese jester Yu Si's wasn't just a guy telling jokes. He was practically a national hero. He was the only one with the guts to call out the emperor's bonkers plan to paint the Great Wall. And he used comedy to save thousands of lives. He was speaking truth to power, but with a punchline.
You see, jesters were basically a walking, talking mirror for society. They had this unique freedom of speech to say what nobody else could, even to the most powerful people on the planet. Through a joke, they could show the king his own vanity, his own absurdity, right to his face.
Okay, so from the royal court, the clown's journey takes a huge leap forward in Europe. It starts to transform from this social role into a full-blown art form, first for the stage, and then for the circus ring.
Commedia dell'arte was an absolute game changer. It took the general idea of the fool and created a playbook for comedy with specific, repeatable characters. You had the clever Harlequin, the moody and soulful Pierrot, a whole cast of comic servants. These guys are the direct ancestors of the clowns we know today.
And then came the circus. Philip Astley had a problem. He needed something to keep the crowd hooked in between all the amazing horse riding acts. So what does he do? He creates this act called Billy Buttons, just a simple bit about a tailor who can't, for the life of him, stay on a horse. And it was a massive hit. For the next century, that kind of simple physical comedy was what circus clowning was all about.
But then one man comes along and completely changes the game, taking the clown from a side act to the main event. His name was Joseph Grimaldi. The Smithsonian wasn't kidding when they called him the Homo erectus of clown evolution.
Grimaldi just blew the doors off the whole thing. He took that traditional Whiteface character and made him the absolute star of the show. He was a master of physical gags, sharp satire, even catchy songs. He was so unbelievably famous that, to this day, clowns are often nicknamed Joeys in his honor. That's real impact.
And maybe his most lasting legacy? His look. This makeup design from 1801 was totally revolutionary. The stark white base, those crazy red triangles on his cheeks, the huge mischievous grin, it created this larger-than-life character you just couldn't look away from. And it's a look that's still instantly recognizable more than 200 years later. All right, let's hop across the pond to America. Here, the clown kept evolving, adapting to a whole new culture and creating new identities that would become famous all over the world. Meet Dan Rice. This guy was basically the perfect reflection of a country in total chaos, using his humor to comment on the politics of the Civil War. He got so popular that when he used his bandwagon to campaign for a president, everyone wanted to jump on the bandwagon with him. Yep, he gave us that phrase. And that patriotic getup he wore, it was the direct inspiration for the iconic image of Uncle Sam. No joke. So over in America, things really started to get organized into these three main types of clowns. First, you've got the sophisticated Whiteface, the boss, the one in charge. Then comes the Auguste, who's the clumsy, anarchic fool who gets all the laughs. And finally, you have the Tramp, a uniquely American character born out of hard times like the Great Depression.
And you really can't talk about the Tramp without talking about the absolute legend, Burt Williams. His friend, the comedian W.C. Fields, said it best, hinting at this incredible depth that Williams brought to his performances. As a black man performing in the early 1900s, Burt Williams was a true trailblazer. He was the first black man to star in a movie and headlined the biggest show on Broadway, the Ziegfeld Follies, for a decade. He took the Tramp character, which had some pretty painful roots in minstrel shows, and filled it with so much dignity and humanity. Booker T. Washington himself said Williams did more for the race than I have. He has smiled his way into people's hearts.
And that idea, that mix of comedy and real human depth, that really becomes the heart of what clowning is all about in the 20th and 21st centuries. The art form took a turn inward, focusing more on vulnerability and making a personal connection with the audience.
So, what is modern clowning? Well, it's different. It's less about playing a fixed character like the Tramp or the Auguste, and more about finding a certain state of being. It's all about breaking that fourth wall, playing directly with the audience, and finding the humor in our shared, human weirdness.
This big shift was really pushed forward by these incredible teachers, these gurus like Jacques Lecoq and Philippe Gallier. They taught that the clown isn't a mask you put on, but it's something you find inside yourself, your own personal, playful, and beautifully flawed humanity. It's about being real, not just trying to be funny. And that brings us right up to today. The clown has always been a mirror for what society is celebrating and what it's afraid of. So, what happens when that mirror starts reflecting our biggest, newest anxiety, artificial intelligence? I mean, this is the real question, isn't it? For thousands of years, the clown has been fundamentally human, showing us our own follies and flaws. But what happens when the jester is a machine?
And the debate is intense. On one side, you have people saying, hey, AI is just another tool, like a paintbrush or a camera. It makes art easier for everyone and lets us do bigger things. But on the other side, you have critics arguing that it devalues real skill, that it can't feel anything, and that it just recycles the stuff it's already seen.
And this is where the whole thing just snaps back into place. In the middle of these heated online fights about the future of art, you know one of the most common insults people throw around? Clown. It's used to call the other person foolish or ridiculous or out of touch. It just proves that even now, the clown is still our go-to symbol for the fool. So that's where we land. From a sacred priest to a court critic to a circus star to a state of being, the clown has always held up a mirror to us. And as we head into this new age of AI creativity, the question isn't just about whether a robot can tell a joke. The real question is, what do our fights about this digital jester, what we love, what we fear, what we call clown, what does all that reflect about us right now?